What it really means when a married man chooses you. Imagine this. You're living your life. You're not chasing anything. You're not even asking for attention. But then he chooses you. He notices, he stays. He makes space for you in a life that is already full. But there's a problem. He's already taken. A wife, a girlfriend, a family maybe. And yet something in him still turns toward you. Something in his presence pulls you in. Or maybe something in you responds to his choice. You didn't ask for this, but here you are. And the question echoes. What does it really mean when a man who is committed chooses you? Let's go deeper. Not with judgment, but with truth. Because according to Carl Jung, this isn't about simple romance. It isn't even about you. It's about him and the unresolved parts of his own psyche. When a man chooses another woman while bound to someone else, it is rarely just desire. It's rarely even about the woman herself. It's about a longing to touch what he has lost within. Jung called this the pursuit of the feminine energy hidden in a man's unconscious. It's not simply you he chooses. It's the vitality, the mystery, the spark he believes you will awaken in him. And so he projects that missing piece onto you. Not because of who you are, but because of what you represent to him. But here's the truth. You were never meant to carry that weight. Many women blame themselves. They ask, did I invite this? Was I wrong to respond? Let me be clear. You are not the problem. Your presence is not the mistake. His choice says more about his absence than about your existence. Because a man who is whole, a man who is aligned, may feel attraction, but he contains it. The invisible weight of a married man's choice. When a married man chooses you, it rarely feels light. At first, there might be a spark that feels exciting. You may notice the way his eyes linger, the way his words carry a certain weight, the way his presence seems to invite you into a space that was not meant for you. And yet underneath that spark, there is always an invisible weight. A heaviness that does not belong to you, but one that you may start to feel as though it rests on your shoulders. This weight is not just about him being taken. It is not simply about the fact that he has a wife, a girlfriend, or even a family. The weight comes from the contradiction between his reality and his choice. He has already committed his life to one direction, but now he turns toward another. That contradiction is like a shadow, and shadows always carry energy. You feel it even before you understand it. You sense it in the pauses, in the silence, in the risk that lingers in the air. Carl Jung taught that when someone makes a choice that cuts across their commitments, it is never only about the other person. It is about the unspoken conflicts within their psyche. When a married man chooses you, the invisible weight you feel is the pressure of his own unfinished battles. He projects them outward, and without realizing it, he makes you carry a piece of what belongs to him. This can leave you asking yourself questions that are painful. Why me? Did I do something to invite this? Am I somehow guilty for the way he looks at me, or the way he chooses me? But pause here. This is the trick of the invisible weight. It convinces you that his struggle is your responsibility. It makes you believe that you are part of the cause, when in reality you are only part of the mirror. The truth is that his choice speaks more about him than about you. It reflects the emptiness, the longing, the restless part of him that cannot be satisfied by the life he has built. And so he chooses outside of it, searching for a missing piece. In Jungian psychology, this often comes from the unacknowledged feminine within a man. The anima, as Jung called it. He projects this inner feminine onto you, believing that your presence will bring him closer to the vitality, mystery, or spark that he has lost. But carrying that projection is heavy. It is like holding a mirror for someone who refuses to look into their own reflection. You become the surface on which he sees what he lacks. You become the symbol of what he cannot admit to himself. And that symbolic role can feel flattering at first. After all, being chosen means being noticed, desired, valued. But very soon, the weight begins to show, because you are not only a woman, you are not only yourself. In his mind, you have become something larger, something symbolic. And symbols are heavy to carry. The invisible weight shows up in subtle ways. It is in the secrecy that surrounds you. It is in the hesitation that never quite leaves his voice. It is in the awareness that while he may be choosing you, he is also betraying something else. That awareness hangs in the space between you, pressing down on your spirit, asking you to hold more than you were ever meant to hold. So what can you do with this weight? The first step is to recognize it for what it is. It is not your burden. It is not your shame. It is not your responsibility to fix or to carry. The invisible weight belongs to him. It is the weight of his choices, his commitments, his unresolved longings. When you realize this, something shifts. you can begin to step back. You can remind yourself, I was not the one who created this contradiction. I was not the one who tied him to a life he no longer knows how to live. I am simply here living my own truth, and he is projecting his onto me. That awareness is powerful, because once you name the weight, it no longer rests on you in the same way. Jung believed that the only way forward for someone trapped in projection is to turn inward, to face the shadow and to integrate what has been denied. That is his work, not yours. If he chooses you and you feel the invisible weight, know this. It is not a reflection of your worth, but of his inner conflict. And so the invisible weight becomes a teacher. It shows you that being chosen is not always a gift. Sometimes it is a mirror of another's emptiness, and in that mirror you are invited to choose yourself, not to carry what belongs to him, but to honor your own wholeness. The difference between desire and a true decision. When a married man chooses you, it can feel flattering. The attention, the warmth, the sense of being wanted. These are powerful forces. But before you are swept away by those feelings, you need to pause and ask, is this desire or is this a decision? The difference may seem small on the surface, but in truth it is everything. Desire is a moment. It is a spark that lights up quickly, sometimes without warning. It can arise from chemistry, attraction, curiosity, or the simple longing for what feels unavailable. Desire is not wrong in itself, it is a part of being human. Even a married man may feel desire when he encounters someone who awakens something inside him. But desire alone does not mean commitment. Desire does not mean he is truly choosing you. Desire is a fleeting wave that may pass as quickly as it arrives. A decision, however, is different. A decision carries weight. A decision is built not only on emotion but on action, on consistency, on integrity. For a married man, making a real decision to choose someone else would mean facing his truth, acknowledging the consequences and reshaping his life around that choice. A decision is not whispered in the dark or hidden in stolen moments. A decision stands in the light. Carl Jung understood that many people live in tension between their desires and their choices. The psyche often craves what the conscious self has not integrated. A married man may desire you because you represent the vitality or mystery he feels he has lost. But unless he is willing to step into the responsibility of decision, his actions remain in the realm of desire. And that difference matters because it determines whether you are being honored as a person or simply used as an escape. Think about how desire feels when it is not supported by decision. It is intense in the beginning. It feels intoxicating, almost irresistible, but it fades. It becomes inconsistent. One moment he is present, the next he is distant. One moment he says you mean everything. The next he withdraws back into the life he refuses to leave. This inconsistency is the hallmark of desire without decision. It creates confusion. It makes you question yourself. It leaves you wondering if you are enough. But when a man truly decides, his actions match his words. He takes steps, even difficult ones, to align his life with the choice he has made. That is why decision is so heavy, because it demands responsibility. It is not enough for him to say he chooses you. The truth is revealed in what he is willing to risk, to release and to rebuild. Many women find themselves trapped between the two, mistaking desire for decision. They hear his words, they feel his attention, and they believe it must mean something lasting. But in Jungian terms, this is often a projection. He may be projecting his longing for freedom, vitality, or lost passion onto you. You become the symbol of what he craves. But projection does not equal choice. Projection is temporary. Choice is permanent. So how can you tell the difference? Look at what happens when the desire collides with reality. Does he hide you in secrecy, or does he stand with you in truth? Does he speak of a future that never comes? Or does he take concrete steps to make space for you in his life? Does he pull you into his emptiness, or does he take responsibility for his own healing? These are the questions that reveal whether his choice is real or only imagined. Jung believed that wholeness requires integration, the ability to face one's shadow and make conscious choices. If a married man chooses you only in words but not in life, then he has not yet faced his shadow. He is living in the realm of desire, not decision, and you, without realizing it, may carry the cost of that gap. The difference between desire and decision matters because it protects your heart. It reminds you that you deserve more than temporary passion. You deserve to be chosen fully, not half hidden in the shadows of someone else's conflict. A true decision honors your presence. It does not ask you to carry secrecy, guilt, or shame. So when you find yourself in this situation, remember, desire is not enough. Attention is not enough. Even words are not enough. What matters is decision, and decision shows itself in action. If he cannot or will not align his life with the choice he speaks, then he has not truly chosen you, and in that realization, you are invited to choose yourself. Because in the end, the difference between desire and decision is also the difference between being used as a projection and being loved as a person. And you are worthy of the latter. If you want to go deeper into Jung's teachings and understand the hidden patterns that shape your relationships, I recommend the Jung Method. It's a guide to uncover what lies in your unconscious and turn it into clarity and strength. The link is pinned in the first comment. The inner emptiness he tries to fill in you. When a married man chooses you, it often feels personal. You may believe it is about your beauty, your personality, or the way you make him feel alive. But beneath the surface, there is usually something deeper at play. Something that has little to do with you and everything to do with him. It is the emptiness inside of him. The quiet void he has not faced that he tries to fill through you. This inner emptiness is not always visible to others. On the outside, he may appear successful, respected, even happy in his role as a husband or father. He may seem to have everything society says should bring fulfillment, stability, companionship, a family structure. And yet within him something is missing. Carl Jung would call this a shadow, a neglected or unacknowledged part of the psyche that demands expression. Instead of turning inward to face that emptiness, he turns outward. He looks for someone who can awaken in him the spark he has lost. That someone becomes you, not because you are lacking, not because you asked for it, but because your energy resonates with the part of himself he longs to reclaim. You are not the emptiness, one, you are the mirror that reflects it. Think about how this plays out. He may praise you for your vitality, your laughter, your freedom, or your mystery. He sees in you qualities that feel distant within himself. He might say things like, "You make me feel alive again," or "You're different from anyone I've ever met." Those words can feel intoxicating, but they also reveal something crucial. It is not really you he is chasing. It is the version of himself that he believes you will help him touch. This is why his choice can feel heavy. Because you are not only being seen for who you are, but for what you represent. You become a symbol of his lost youth, his forgotten dreams, or his suppressed desires. Jung wrote that when we fail to integrate the feminine within, we project it outward onto women. In this way, a married man may unconsciously place the weight of his unlived life onto your shoulders. But no matter how deeply he projects, you cannot fill his emptiness. You may bring him moments of joy, passion, or escape, but the void inside him remains. That is because the emptiness does not come from a lack of you. It comes from a lack of alignment within himself. Until he faces his own shadow, no woman, no affair, no external choice can complete him. Many women, however, fall into the trap of believing they must be the answer. They think, if he chose me, maybe I can give him what he's missing. Maybe I can heal his pain, help him feel whole again. But this is a dangerous illusion. Carrying another person's emptiness will drain you, because it is not a burden you were ever meant to carry. Over time, you may notice the signs of this drain. His needs feel endless. His longing grows heavier. You start to feel more like a lifeline than a partner. And deep down, you may begin to realize that no matter how much you give, it is never enough. That realization is painful, but it is also liberating. It reminds you that his emptiness belongs to him, not to you. Jung believed that true healing requires turning inward. A man must face the shadow within his own unconscious, not outsource that work onto another. If he chooses you only as a way to avoid his inner emptiness, then you are not being honored. You are being used as a distraction. That is not love. That is projection. The choice then becomes yours. Will you accept the role of carrying what is not yours, or will you step back and refuse to confuse his emptiness with your worth? Because no matter how magnetic your energy may be, you cannot resolve what he refuses to confront. The truth is that you are not the missing piece of his puzzle. You are a whole being, complete in yourself. His emptiness is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of his avoidance. And when you see it for what it is, you begin to reclaim your power. So remember this: when a married man chooses you, and you sense the heaviness of his need, look deeper. Recognize that what feels like desire is often a mirror of his own void. You were never meant to be his cure. You were never meant to be his missing half. You are not the bandage for his emptiness. You are a reminder that he must face himself. And the greatest choice you can make is to refuse to carry what is not yours, and to honor your own wholeness above his unresolved hunger. The myth of female guilt in the face of his choice. When a married man chooses you, one of the first emotions many women feel is guilt. It arrives quietly at first, a subtle whisper that asks, "Did I do something wrong? Did I invite this? Am I somehow guilty just for being chosen?" This guilt is heavy and it can twist the way you see yourself. But here is the truth. This guilt is not yours to carry. It is a myth, a shadow passed down through culture, through silence, through the idea that women are always responsible for what men do. From childhood, many women are taught to be careful, to avoid leading men on, to guard themselves not only for their own sake, but for the sake of men's choices. Society often sends the message that if a man crosses a boundary, the woman must have given him a reason. If he strays, it must be because she was tempting. If he chooses her, then she is somehow to blame for what unfolds. This narrative is not only unfair, it is untrue. Carl Jung understood that projection shapes how we see others. When a married man projects his longing onto you, he may make you feel as though you hold the key to his inner conflict. But this is his projection, not your responsibility. You did not create the emptiness within him. You did not create the vows he made or the life he built. You did not force his eyes to wander or his heart to search. His choice reflects his own unresolved psyche, not your actions. The myth of female guilt is powerful because it preys on sensitivity. Women who are empathetic often blame themselves quickly. They replay moments in their head. Maybe I smiled too much. Maybe I should not have been so open. Maybe if I had walked away sooner, he would not have chosen me. But notice how every sentence begins with me. This is the trap. The guilt makes you center yourself in his decision when in reality, his choice was his alone. Think of it this way. If he had not met you, the same emptiness would still be inside him. It might have been projected onto someone else or expressed in another way. The point is, the choice did not begin with you. It began with what he refuses to face within himself. Your presence may have awakened something, but you are not the cause of his actions. This is where the myth of guilt begins to break. Because once you see that his decision is his responsibility, you can begin to step out of the role culture has tried to assign you. You are not the seductress, not the destroyer, not the one who must carry the blame for his broken vows. You are simply a mirror that reflected back to him what he longed for, and mirrors are not guilty for the images they show. Jung believed that facing the shadow requires honesty. For a man, that honesty means acknowledging his dissatisfaction, his projections, and his restlessness without placing the burden on another. If he cannot do that, then he continues the cycle, seeking women who will carry his shadow while he refuses to confront it. And too often, women take on that burden out of misplaced guilt. But what if you let go of that guilt? What if you recognize that his choice is not a measure of your morality, your worth, or your role in his story? What if, instead of blaming yourself, you asked, "What does this reveal about him? And what does it reveal about what I deserve?" Those questions shift the weight back to where it belongs. They remind you that you are not the one who betrayed a promise. You are not the one who broke a vow. You are not the one who created the contradiction he now lives in. The myth of guilt collapses when women realize this simple truth. Being chosen does not make you guilty. His actions are his own. His choices reflect his own fractures. Your only responsibility is to choose yourself with clarity. So when the guilt whispers in your ear, remember this. You are not the cause of his unrest. You are not the reason his heart wanders. You are not the explanation for his discontent. You are simply the mirror in which he sees what he has lost. And mirrors do not create the reflection. They only reveal it. When attraction becomes psychological projection, attraction can feel magical. It can sweep you off your feet and make you believe that something extraordinary is happening between two people. When a married man chooses you, that attraction often feels heightened and almost electric. But beneath that electricity, there is often something deeper at play. What seems like pure attraction may actually be psychological projection. And when attraction becomes projection, everything changes. Carl Jung described projection as the unconscious act of placing one's inner world onto another person. Instead of seeing you for who you truly are, he sees you through the lens of his unmet needs, unresolved wounds, and hidden longings. You become the canvas for his inner life. The attraction feels strong because it is not only about you, it is about the parts of himself he has not yet faced. Think about what happens in this situation. He may be drawn to your energy, your confidence, or your mystery. He might say you awakened something in him, something he thought was gone. But listen closely. His words are not describing you as much as they are describing himself. He is telling you what he has lost, what he craves, what he longs to recover. You become the symbol of that recovery, the projection of his inner feminine, the anima Jung spoke about so often. This is why his attraction feels so intense. It is not ordinary interest. It is loaded with meaning, with hunger, with the weight of his unintegrated psyche. You may feel flattered, even special, because his attention feels more powerful than usual. But remember, projection always exaggerates. It magnifies what is missing, turning a person into an idea into a fantasy, and a fantasy into a need. The danger is that projection blinds him to reality. He does not see you as a whole person, with your own flaws, needs, and boundaries. Instead, he sees you as the answer to his emptiness. You are not just you. You are what he believes will make him feel alive again. That is not fair to you. Because no one can carry the burden of being someone else's missing piece, and projection can blind you too. When you feel the strength of his attraction, you may confuse it for something deeper. You may believe it means destiny or true love or a soul connection. But in truth, what you are experiencing is his unconscious being placed onto you. It feels real because the emotion is real, but the object of the emotion may not be. It is like being caught in someone else's dream. Over time, projection always begins to crack. Reality seeps through. The qualities he once praised may begin to frustrate him. The mystery that pulled him in may start to feel like distance. The freedom he admired in you may start to feel like a threat. Why? Because projection cannot last forever. Eventually, the real person emerges and the fantasy fades. And when that happens, the attraction may collapse because it was never built on seeing you clearly. Jung believed that relationships rooted in projection are fragile. They can ignite quickly, but they rarely sustain, because the foundation is not truth but illusion. For the relationship to become real, both people must withdraw the projection and face themselves honestly. He must recognize that what he sees in you is actually what he longs to cultivate within himself. Only then can he truly meet you as an equal, not as a symbol. So what does this mean for you? It means that when a married man's attraction feels overwhelming, you must ask, is he seeing me or is he projecting onto me? Does he know who I truly am? Or has he created a fantasy version of me to fill the gaps in his life? These questions help you step out of the fog of projection and back into clarity. The truth is, attraction rooted in projection will always leave you carrying too much. You cannot sustain being someone else's symbol. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you represent. And the moment you recognize projection, you reclaim your power. You stop mistaking his inner hunger for your responsibility. You stop confusing his longing with your worth. When attraction becomes projection, it is no longer about connection. It is about escape. And you are not meant to be someone's escape. You are meant to be seen, valued, and chosen for your true self. What Jung reveals about the feminine in the male unconscious. Carl Jung believed that inside every man lives a hidden feminine aspect of the psyche. He called it the anima. This inner feminine is not about being weak or soft. It is about the capacity for feeling, imagination, creativity, intuition, and emotional connection. It is the part of a man that allows him to truly engage with the depth of life. But when a man does not recognize or integrate his anima, he will often project it onto women. And when a married man chooses you, it may be less about who you are and more about what his anima is trying to awaken in him. This is why his choice feels so powerful. He is not just attracted to you as a person. He is attracted to the qualities within you that remind him of the forgotten parts of himself. Maybe it is your warmth. Maybe it is your independence. Maybe it is your laughter, or the way you carry mystery, or the freedom you embody. To him, these qualities are magnetic because they are not fully alive inside of him. You become the symbol of his unlived potential. When Jung wrote about the anima, he warned that it often appears first in projection. A man unconsciously looks for a woman who can hold what he cannot access in himself. That is why his attraction can feel almost spiritual. He believes you are awakening his soul, when in truth it is his own soul calling out through you. You are not the missing piece. You are the mirror. But being seen as a mirror can be heavy. Instead of being loved for who you are loved for what you represent. His anima is not your responsibility, but when he projects it onto you, it can feel as if you must carry it. You may feel the weight of being his muse, his healer, his savior, And yet none of these roles truly belong to you. They belong to his inner work, the work he has not yet done. This explains why relationships built on projection can be unstable. At first, everything feels alive, intense, extraordinary. He places you on a pedestal because you seem to embody everything he has been missing. But over time, cracks appear. When you do not always match the fantasy he created, disappointment sets in. What he really longs for is not you, but the parts of himself that you symbolize. And until he recognizes that, the cycle continues. Jung believed that the true task of every man is to integrate the anima consciously. That means facing his own emotions, listening to his intuition, allowing creativity and vulnerability to exist within him. It means no longer projecting onto women what he refuses to own. Only then can he meet a woman as she truly is, not as the container for his missing self. So when a married man chooses you, and his attraction feels overwhelming, it is worth asking, is this him choosing me, or is this his anima speaking through me? The difference matters. If he is only projecting, then his choice is not truly about you. It is about his longing for wholeness. It is about the unfinished dialogue within his unconscious. The challenge is that projection feels real. He may look into your eyes with intensity. He may say you have changed his life, that you make him feel alive again. Those words can stir your heart, but they also reveal his deeper struggle. What he sees in you is not only you. It is the feminine within him that he has not yet embraced. If he is willing to do the inner work, then the story can shift. He can begin to recognize that the anima he projects outward is actually a call to turn inward. He can stop placing the weight of his longing on your shoulders and begin to cultivate those qualities within himself. But if he is not willing, then his choice will always remain incomplete. It will always be about what he takes from you, rather than what he builds with you. For you, the lesson is clear. You cannot carry his anima. You cannot be the permanent container for his missing parts. What Jung reveals is that every man must do this work for himself. If he does not, then you risk being trapped in the endless cycle of projection, where you are never truly seen for who you are. So when you find yourself chosen by a married man, remember Jung's wisdom. Attraction can be powerful, but it is not always personal. Sometimes it is the unconscious at work. Sometimes it is his anima reaching for the surface. And the greatest freedom you can claim is to see the difference, to know that his inner feminine belongs to him, and your wholeness belongs to you. Why his choice says more about him than about you. When a married man chooses you, it is easy to assume that it means something profound about who you are. You may think, he chose me because I am special. He chose me because I am different. He chose me because I am better than what he already has. This belief can be flattering, even intoxicating. But the deeper truth is that his choice says far more about him than it does about you. Carl Jung taught that the psyche is always seeking balance. When something is missing within, we unconsciously search for it outside ourselves. A married man who chooses another woman is often not making a statement about her worth, but about the emptiness or restlessness inside of him. His choice is less about your light and more about his shadows, less about your completeness and more about his fractures. Consider this. If he truly saw you for who you are, his decision would be rooted in clarity. But more often than not, his choice is clouded by projection. He sees you as the answer to something he has not yet faced. Maybe he feels stagnant in his marriage. Maybe he feels invisible in his daily life. Maybe he carries dreams he never pursued. And when he looks at you, he imagines those dreams alive again. In each case, the focus is not you. It is the part of himself he has buried. This does not mean you lack value. On the contrary, it means your presence is powerful. You awaken something that was sleeping in him. But it is crucial to understand that being the trigger is not the same as being the solution. His choice is a reflection of his inner world, not a reflection of your ultimate worth. Think about the patterns you may notice. He praises you for qualities that highlight his own absence. If he feels trapped, he calls you free. If he feels dull, he calls you radiant. If he feels ignored, he calls you captivating. Every compliment he gives you carries a shadow, the shadow of what he does not feel within himself. You are the surface on which his longing is projected, and while that projection may feel flattering, it also means he is not truly seeing you. Jung wrote that until we face our unconscious, we will continue to meet it in others and call it fate. This is exactly what happens when a married man chooses you. He calls it love or destiny or passion, but in reality it is his unconscious calling him to pay attention. You are not fate. You are the mirror. And mirrors reflect, but they do not create. This is why his choice says more about him than about you, because it reveals the cracks in his life, the unspoken needs in his heart, the unfinished work in his soul. His choice exposes where he feels empty, restless, or unfulfilled. If you were not there, those same cracks would remain. He would simply find another mirror to reflect them back to him. When you begin to see it this way, you can step out of the trap of over-identifying with his attention. You can stop asking, "What does this say about me?" and start asking, "What does this say about him?" That shift in perspective is powerful. It frees you from carrying what does not belong to you. Because here is the truth. You are not responsible for the void inside him. You are not responsible for the choices he makes. You are not the explanation for his dissatisfaction. His choice is about his journey, his psyche, his inner conflicts. It is not proof of your worth or lack of worth. Jung believed that love requires seeing the other as they are, not as a projection of one's own unconscious. Until a man withdraws his projections, he cannot truly love. He can only grasp at symbols. And when a married man chooses you without doing his inner work, you are being chosen as a symbol, not as a person. That is not the kind of love you deserve. So the next time you feel flattered by his choice, pause. Ask yourself, is he truly choosing me, or is he choosing the reflection of his own longing? The answer will tell you everything, because in the end, his choice says more about his emptiness than your fullness. It says more about his unrest than your beauty. It says more about his shadow than your light. And once you see this clearly, you can release the need to carry his story. You can remember that your value does not rise or fall with the decisions of a man who has not faced himself. His choice belongs to him. Your worth belongs to you, and nothing he does can take that away. The final truth, a whole man may feel, but he contains it. Attraction is not the enemy. Even the most devoted, loyal man may feel it. He may notice a spark with someone outside of his marriage. He may experience curiosity, longing, or even temptation. This is part of being human. But the measure of a man's integrity is not in whether he feels attraction. It is in how he responds to it. A whole man, a man who has integrated his shadow and embraced his own unconscious, does not deny attraction. He acknowledges it, and then he contains it. Carl Jung taught that wholeness is not the absence of conflict, but the integration of it. When a man is whole, he does not need to project his unmet needs onto another. He does not look for a woman to carry what he refuses to face. Instead, he takes responsibility for his desires. He recognizes them, learns from them, and keeps them within the boundaries of his commitments. His attraction does not become a choice that harms others. It remains a signal of what he must examine within himself. When a married man chooses you, it often means he has not reached that wholeness. Instead of containing his attraction, he externalizes it. He allows the spark to become action. He lets his inner hunger spill out into choices that affect more than just himself. And in doing so, he places a burden on you. A burden you were never meant to carry. This is why his choice must be understood clearly. It is not a reflection of your worth, your beauty, or your uniqueness. It is a reflection of his incompleteness. A man who is aligned may feel drawn, but he will not act in ways that betray his vows or destabilize another's life. He honors both his commitments and his inner truth by holding that attraction with integrity. The final truth, then, is this. A man who is whole may feel the pull of desire, but he does not confuse it for destiny. He may feel the spark of another's presence, but he does not mistake it for permission. He may be curious about what lies beyond his current life, but he does not abandon his responsibility to chase it. Wholeness is not the absence of feeling. Wholeness is the ability to feel fully and still choose wisely. For you, this truth is a source of freedom. It reminds you that his choice does not define you. If he could not contain his attraction, that speaks to his journey, not yours. You are not the test he failed. You are not the temptation that ruined him. You are simply the mirror that revealed the work he has not yet done, and mirrors are not guilty for the reflection they show. So when you find yourself asking what it means that a married man chose you, remember this. His choice does not speak to your destiny. It speaks to his shadow. His inability to contain what he feels reveals where he is in his growth, not where you are in yours. And here is where your power lies. You do not need to carry his projection. You do not need to measure your worth by his attention. You do not need to shape your life around the instability of his decision. You can choose differently. You can choose clarity, freedom, and wholeness for yourself, because in the end, attraction will always exist. Sparks will always fly, But the real question is not whether a man feels them. It is whether he has the strength to contain them. And a whole man does. And so let this truth stay with you. His choice does not define your value. Only your choice does. The choice to see clearly, to honor yourself, and to never mistake his shadow for your light.